Have you ever found yourself struck with a thought or experience that propels you back years in time to your childhood? You find yourself suddenly young again, feeling the joys and pains of years gone by, and left wondering how your childhood self turned into the person you are today. Happy childhood memories may feed into feelings of nostalgia and shape a person's priorities as an adult. But the truth is that our most difficult experiences as children are just as, if not more, formative of who we are later in life. The power of nostalgia and the connection between childhood creativity and finding meaning in adult life are found throughout Phil Lord and Chris Miller's 2014 animated adventure, The Lego Movie. From its characters grappling with ideas of creativity to the real world that lies beyond this multicolored brick universe, it's a story where carefree adolescence and worn-down adulthood clash and, ultimately, create something better through reconciliation. Here, we can better understand this process of internal healing through the psychotherapeutic methodology of reparenting. In psychotherapy, reparenting is an approach that sees someone's personality as being made up of both an adult and a wounded child. While our adult selves define much of how we rationally approach our daily lives, the wounded child is the part of us that is made up of the emotional injuries experienced during childhood, which still impact and shape us years later. Reparenting has taken on many different models in psychotherapy over the years, but what we're speaking of here is the idea of limited self-reparenting, as presented by therapist Muriel James in her book Breaking Free: Self-Reparenting for a New Life. This form of reparenting sees a person guided into identifying the moments in time that cause such severe, long-lasting injuries. Then, he or she learns how to show love, protection, and care to his or her wounded child self. This means stepping back in time to those painful moments and speaking love and truth to ourselves when we needed it most, yet most likely never received it. In essence, your adult self takes on a parental role with your child self in order to bring healing to wounds that may have been aching for decades. The result is caring for and identifying with parts of yourself that may have been ignored for years. Using its origins as children's block playsets, the Lego Movie throws audiences headlong into a colorful brick world, where conformity and rule joyfully suppress the potential of everyone's creativity. In this world lives Emmett Growth, a simple construction worker who soon finds himself at the center of a prophecy to stop the evil Lord Business from ending all creativity in the world for good. If you were to distill the Lego Movie into its most defining characteristics, you might come up with terms like frenetic, inventive, gleeful. Those certainly define a large portion of the film's style and immediate impact, but they forgo the themes of the Lego Movie to focus on the experience. The Lego Movie is a film that, for all its flash and silliness, is chock full of themes. Creative licensing, totalitarianism, capitalism, parenthood, politics, they're all jammed into a film about the wellspring of creativity within us all, bursting forth and smashing through the barriers that both society and ourselves have put in the way. But ultimately, it takes reconnecting with and healing our inner child that makes it possible. In an article for Psychology Today, clinical and forensic psychologist Stephen A. Diamond said, "The fact is that the majority of so-called adults are not truly adults at all. We all get older. Anyone, with a little luck, can do that. But psychologically speaking, this is not adulthood. True adulthood hinges on acknowledging, accepting, and taking responsibility for loving and parenting one's own inner child. For most adults, this never happens. Instead, their inner child has been denied, neglected, disparaged, abandoned, or rejected. We are told by society to grow up, putting childish things aside. To become adults, we've been taught that our inner child, representing our childlike capacity for innocence, wonder, awe, joy, sensitivity, and playfulness, must be stifled, quarantined, or even killed. The inner child comprises and potentiates these positive qualities, but it also holds our accumulated childhood hurts, traumas, fears, and angers. Grown-ups are convinced they have successfully outgrown, jettisoned, and left this child and its emotional baggage long behind. But this is far from the truth. At its core, the Lego Movie is a sweetly touching look at what it means to move past the hurtful things that others have said about you, and, most importantly, what you've said about yourself. To do so and become a better person, you must reconnect with your inner child so that you can truly move forward. It's no coincidence that a film made up of building blocks is all about reconstructing the world and oneself. Being able to do so and become a master builder doesn't come from being the most special person in the world. It comes from reconnecting to something that has been there from the very start.
I am a master builder!
The 1943 novella by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, The Little Prince, is a similar rumination on seeing the world through childlike eyes. Love, responsibility, wonder, it's all here in the brief friendship forged between a pilot and a child who has come from the stars. In it, Saint-Exupéry muses, all grown-ups were once children, but only few of them remember it. It's this idea of remembering the inner child and embracing it in a holistic, growth-centered way that empowers the characters of the Lego Movie. This childlike lack of cynicism propels Lord and Miller's vision for the film, as well as how its central characters move past ideas of corporatization and stifled creativity. When discussing how they tried to balance somewhat anarchic ideas with making a movie that could be seen, in essence, as a toy commercial, the co-directors and writers said, "We were trying to have it always when we were making this movie. It really was a big exposition on creativity and the ways different people work and collaboration. And innovation. Creating the conditions for innovation, right? Because Emmett starts out in a world where it's really top-down and all the creativity is outsourced. So much so that people like Emmett don't really think of anything. They just follow the things that are given to them. Nowadays, ever since recorded media, that's the way a lot of people interface with art. They consume it, but they don't create it as often. At least not as adults. 100 years ago, you'd sit around the campfire and everyone played an instrument. So we kind of miss that stuff. The idea of reparenting, which helps unlock this long-lost creativity in the film, works on two levels within the story. The first is that Emmett has lived a life of little imagination and is surrounded by people who either don't care about him,
I know that guy, but I know like zippy zap about him,
or find there to be nothing special about him.
We all have something that makes us something, and Emmett is nothing.
His sudden inclusion in a quest to save the world begins to open up his eyes to his own unique talents, and a path toward being special by believing in himself. It's a simple but inspiring story of finding the talent inside you that was always there. You just need to let it come to the surface in the ways it needs. Having this adventure take place in the childlike setting of the Lego world means that Emmett's growth as a character is directly tied to the wonders of childhood. Grown-ups never understand anything by themselves, said Saint-Exupéry, and it is tiresome for children to be always and forever explaining things to them. Emmett isn't alone in growing by accepting greater truths about himself. Fellow hero Wildstyle feels the need to prove herself by being the special. When that title is taken by Emmett, it kind of sends her into a tailspin. But by learning that she has just as much value without being the special, and instead by being Lucy, she helps save the world. Princess Unikitty, Metalbeard, Batman, and Benny all have to grow a little before they can make a difference, most often by embracing creativity in new ways. But the most moving ideas of reparenting come in the form of a late-in-the-film twist that takes the ideas of a Lego world and extrapolates them much further than expected. After Emmett plunges into an abyss, we find that his entire world is made up of Lego playsets in the real world. Here, they're brought to life by a young boy named Finn, who has snuck into his father's restricted basement collection of Lego and given them new life. But when the father, Will Ferrell, who also plays Lord Business, comes home, it's readily apparent that Dad doesn't want anyone touching his stuff. The characters of the Lego Movie are suddenly given new context and meaning. The evil Lord Business is a representation of the father, who seeks to throw out creativity in order to instill permanent order through the use of crazy glue. The simple yet heroic Emmett is the son, who is finally giving life to his own imagination to save the world. And in the moment where Emmett must confront Lord Business, son and father are finally able to have a heart-to-heart. Playing with Lego is, in essence, a way of reconnecting with childhood. It's pure creativity, and an outlet for children of all walks of life. While it's never stated outright, it's clear that the character of the father has long struggled with his inner child, as evidenced by the massive amount of Lego sets in the basement, which he deems as serious adult creations to cover up his childlike desires.
The box for this one said ages 8 to 14.
That's a suggestion. They have to put that on there.
Over the years, his wounded child has gone unloved, resulting in something harsh and difficult, as represented by Lord Business. But when the father sees the sheer amount of creativity exhibited by his son's unauthorized rearranging of his finely tuned Lego sets, he opens himself up to the opportunity to be reparented and also affirm his own child's worth. In this moment, the relationship between father and son, as well as the battle between Emmett and Business, is healed through love expressed through words of affirmation, not fighting. In a prompt very similar to what would be used in a reparenting session during therapy, the father asks Finn,
If the construction guy said something to President Business, what would he say?
He recognizes what a crucial moment this is in the life of his son, and allows some truth to be spoken to his own inner child.
You don't have to be the bad guy. You are the most talented, most interesting, and most extraordinary person in the universe. And you are capable of amazing things because you are the special. And so am I.
As both son speaks this to father and Emmett speaks this to Lord Business, we see both characters reconnect to their inner childlike self and make the decision to be better people who value creativity and show love that is needed by both son and former enemy. It's an intimate and powerful moment that subverts much of the loud and insane story that has come before it, recontextualizing the raw creativity and childlike wonder of the Lego Movie into a meditation on the need for connecting with the inner wounded child, and in doing so, helping a child grow in healthy, creative ways. You see, the secret of caring for and understanding the child within you is that the child speaks back in ways you have long forgotten. Balancing the child and the adult takes time and effort, and it all starts with caring for your own inner wounded child in the ways only you know, but the result can be something beautiful.